gentlemen, welcome back to the Rufus Rundown. We have, again, the first guest of another new season. Cam Rodgers is back with us. Cam's had a couple of cool events go on recently that I wanted to get his thoughts on. Also, just getting Cam back on the show is a huge plus for me just because I do enjoy the conversations I have with Cam, being at different schools and stuff too. It's been a while, and how inconsistent I do actually get with this podcast. So I'm glad to have Cam back on the show. Super talented, super smart kid. I don't know if you guys remember from the last time. It's one of the better videos that I've done on this channel. One of my favorite graphics out there too, with the two of us on there. So, I said Cam recently traveled to the NCAA immersion event as well as starting his winter track season. So there's a couple things we're gonna go through. But Cam, how have you been, my friend?
I'm great, man. I'm doing well. Happy to be back. I love coming on this podcast, talking to you. Even outside the podcast, like whenever I see you around, it's always good vibes, good conversation. So I'm happy to be back on here.
Yeah, I was going to a basketball game. I saw you at UMD. My eyesight's terrible, but I think you were like pulling out, and I heard you, and I was trying to think like, who the hell is yelling my name from his car? And then it like clicked with me, and I was like, oh that's Cam. And that's why I slid up and I hit you up on Snap from there, because I was there
Yeah,
for
I remember that.
I forget what I was there for volleyball. I think with some of my teammates from this school because I think Dean actually played UMD at UMD, so that's why I was down there for that one. But I mean, that's I think like the brief running. I haven't been out and about in Dartmouth as much this year, but we're gonna change that in the winter. I'll be around.
Too. You gotta come back around. We love you over here. We miss you, man.
All right, so you're the current season you're going at right now, right? You got the winter track season, which you compete in a multitude of events, and that started. You said you had to meet in Southern Maine to start, right?
Yeah.
So how was that for you in terms of that competition?
It was a decent opening to the season. It's just a start. Usually we use these first few meets as kind of like it's kind of practice because in all reality, indoor track is kind of preparation for outdoor track. So first meet I ran 200. I did high jump and I didn't hurdle. 200 high jump and 4x4 were the three events that I competed in. So yeah, it's just more of a like first meet, shaking some rust off and getting the feel of things pretty much.
Yeah, I know from that video that I shared with everybody that you shared as well too. You can hear the announcers talking about. He goes, "This kid does everything," and like
Yeah, yeah.
you really do. It's crazy how that like doing everything like multiple events and all different styles too. You know what I'm saying? Like shows
Mhm.
just pure athleticism to be able to do what you do because not only to be able to compete at that high level and stay healthy and be able to do it at a high level. I mean, you're gonna get tired. I mean, you're doing.
Yeah, it's definitely more of a it's another aspect of it too when it comes down to like the conference championships because that video that I had sent you was from the last year conference and usually before going into it, coaches like to game plan for what events that they want to put their athletes in. But with me particularly, there's a good spread of events that I could do. So like usually coaches don't know what events that I'm gonna do. They have a good idea of what I usually do, but they can't really game plan around where they want to put their athletes because they don't know where I'm gonna be competing at.
So you're a
So it's like,
secret weapon.
yeah, secret, not so secretive secret weapon. So like,
They
it gives us an edge for sure.
Yeah, because again, you can kind of just it's kind of what cards you have. It's kind of like the poker. You can kind of you got put the poker face on, and you know what you have. You know if you have a straight flush or a royal flush. You know what if your hand's worth where it's betting because of how talented you are, and also the events that you can compete in. And they can kind of you guys, and then obviously your coach understands where to how to play that and how to roll that out. So the strategy of it's obviously pretty cool because most people probably just think that it's you guys just train hard, show up, compete. But there's obviously a lot more depth to that in terms of how the coaching aspect, in terms of not only getting you guys to improve, but how to get you guys the consistent results that you guys have been winning, not just individually but as a team.
Yeah, for sure. And we got a lot of weapons too on the team. We got David Bennett. For instance, last year, I've never ran the 200 at a conference meet. for indoor, but they put me in the 200. Me and David Bennett ran out 1-2 in the 200. So that's 18 points right there that we just scored, just me and him alone. Which other coaches may have been thinking I'm gonna do the triple jump because that's what I've done the other year before. So it's a good strategy that goes into it, especially if you have athletes who you can just put wherever you want to.
Yeah, it's like any other sport where, like baseball, for example, if a guy plays first base, third base, left field, right field, and he can hit and he can DH for you, you can now shuffle him around the field if guys get hurt, whatever may happen,
Yeah,
strategically. You fill multiple needs. You know, you're not just a one-dimensional athlete, which is really impressive.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
And David, was David also he followed you by a year, right? He's a year behind you.
Yeah, David's a sophomore now, so two.
So
So
like,
yeah,
but he
he's
had won some honors as a freshman as well, too, much like you did your freshman year, correct?
yeah, crazy talented 400 runner. He running way faster than I was running my freshman year. So I'm expecting a national title out of him before he leaves UMass. So
Clipping that,
that's all I gotta
clipping
say.
that,
Yeah,
gotta clip that.
flip that, flip that, and send it to him because to be running 47 as a freshman, the fastest freshman in the country. Come on, man.
big,
The
big,
potential's there.
big things. You guys, like I said, you guys have a super talented squad too. I think you got another kid throwing shot put there too, right? That's also very, very good.
Andrew Swallow is actually my roommate. He's out in there right now, just chilling. But he threw a big throw the first meet, got him third in the country right now. So right now he's in for nationals, and that throw will probably keep him there. So it's a good three of us that make a run at nationals. Me, David Bennett, and Andrew Swallow. So hopefully this year we can all be back there in Alabama come indoors.
Well, I think lets me segue into the fact that you finally got the plaque. Of course, we knew you were an All American because of where you placed nationally from the spring season, right? And that's finally that's the plaque for the previous spring season you placing nationally as well that you got.
Actually, show you guys that. Been waiting for a little while. Usually they do it football season, but pushed it back a little bit. But
Yeah,
beautiful plaque.
yeah, the event of the basketball game, right? They presented you with that.
Yes, they did. So that's always a great experience, and it feels good to get recognized, and the whole track team as well, because we did win the conference championship indoor and outdoor. So we got recognized for winning that too.
Just everybody gets some silverware. You love that.
Everybody,
Every,
love the whole team eats.
and I think again, like I think we've talked about it before. Not only having like three main guys that are competing that like for that national recognition as well, but to have so many people that are so talented, I think together breeds even more results in terms of how you guys help push each other by not only getting those results, but I think but just being in that same environment. Obviously, you guys are driven people. I mean, I've seen how you work out and your work ethic. Obviously, the results show for that on their own. But knowing you personally, you have that drive as well. Obviously, the mixing and the mingling with your teammates, obviously that rubs off.
Oh, for sure. Like, I like to lead by example. So at practice, obviously, I'm a person who likes to have fun. I like to tell jokes and stuff like that. But when it comes down to like, all right, we're on the line next rep, I'm not gonna dilly dally and not try my hardest for the workout. Like, I'm gonna run my hardest or whatever the workout requires me to do. And I think that's best when you have people who are on your team and see you as, oh, that's Cam, the All American. Like when they see you going out and trying your hardest at practice, that's something that they'd want to do. So that's kind of my thing. I also will be vocal, but I think me going to practice and then actually working my butt off speaks louder than,
Well,
than just saying.
yeah, I think the reality of the results that you have speak to what the character that you have also breeds in terms of success. So if you tell someone to do something, it's not like you're coming from an area where you're goofing off or you're not at that high level. If you tell someone to do something on your team, obviously they're going to pay attention to it because of how you act and how you carry yourself at practice, but also because the results that you get too. Because it's hard. If an All American busting their ass at practice, doing their thing, and they say, "Hey, do X, Y, or Z." It's a lot easier to buy into what that person's saying unless you, as opposed to someone who has never placed nationally or done anything and is goofing off every practice. So your words carry a lot more weight to a team that cares about the results and is obviously trying to push themselves as well. So I think that's like the really good thing about those results there too is that you're not running into that stuff by accident, and it builds up that credibility to you as a leader and just as an athlete within that program.
I agree with everything you said totally. That is 100% true. You hit it right on the head.
So that's the cool thing with college sports is it's like you don't get that experience I think anywhere else, that ability to lead people by example or naturally. Everybody thinks that like leadership, especially when it comes to I think football for me personally, that it's any given Sunday speeches, screaming and yelling and banging heads against lockers, like, and maybe a lot of that, and maybe that's just mainly with football as opposed to it is with other sports like track and field. But the reality is that a lot of leadership is stuff that goes unsaid, and it is that credibility, and it is how you carry yourself, and it is the example that you set more than what you say. But then what you say is again credible to how you act.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I agree totally.
So, what was your approach going into like training wise? What was your approach going into this winter season? Like in years past, have you stuck with the same plans, or have you continued to grow and mold yourself a little differently in terms of like your preseason approach?
Yeah, so I definitely change what I do a lot. Um, I don't think same thing goes for lifting and stuff like that. You always have to change and do something new if you want to. If you're going in doing the same weight and doing the same stuff in the gym every time, you're not gonna grow. And you as a person in the gym and doing all the stuff that you do, you know that too. I go in the gym and bench 135 every time. I'm not gonna get bigger, stronger by doing that. So my approach this winter season has been mainly getting on the track more because in past, for instance, last summer I did a ton of weightlifting. I put on a lot of mass and I was very cut because I was also using pre-workout, which is something I've totally cut out because that is no good, no good. Funny story about that. I did that for that summer, which that was kind of a trend, and I'm not gonna play like an expert on fitness and working out. Like it was something I wanted to try, and I was using it for the summer, and I wasn't really running much. So I get back to campus in the fall. I started like, okay, let me start training. Like, I think I'm strong enough. This is gonna help me. So I start running, and it's like it was literally a feeling of like somebody sitting on my chest, and I was like, yeah, I probably will never use this stuff again because I couldn't breathe. It was like I've never felt that type of way before while running. Like running was always something that I trained that came easy to me. So that paired with me getting COVID a little bit down the line was just like a setback. And I also had rolled my ankle too, which had me set me back even more for my training. So this winter I've done a lot more running. Um, I lift. I haven't cut out lifting. I still lift a lot more explosives and stuff like that. But yeah, I want to get more track work, more speed. Speed is the focus. Yeah, you have to train your energy systems for what you're trying to do.
I
And
couldn't agree more.
you know exactly what I'm talking about. When I was younger, in my Durfee days at high school, when I was learning that track is something that I could be, I was just so set on being good at track. Like I wasn't experienced, I didn't have the knowledge, but I was just like, I gotta get out, I gotta run, I just gotta keep working. So I made me a route in Fall River that is about 3.87 miles exactly, and I'd run the route every day, about 6 minute mile pace. And I don't know if you know Fall River, but it has all
You got
these
a
hills and
lot of
stuff like
hills
that.
in Fall River, bro.
So it was great work. Don't get me wrong, but looking back now, I wasn't training the correct energy systems. I had great stamina, but I did not have the speed that I needed to do 400 hurdles. So it got me by in high school because there's a ton of kids who aren't obviously experts on what they should be doing. it got me by and it kept me in shape, and I was ahead of the curve because I did take the time and to do that stuff. But um, training should be something intentional, and you should know what you want to do before you going into it. You know.
No, I think having a plan is the biggest thing because I train a lot of Goda, which is different than traditional any type of traditional training. And you've seen some of it, I'm sure. For anybody who knows what it is, like it's totally different. Like it's like anti-triple extension. It's totally rotational. Like all of that. I'll have my trainer Jared Antle on, opening up his own spot. He's got some plans. He's doing some stuff that includes his own gym, and when I bring him on the podcast, we'll finally be able to break down everything that has to do with that because I think it's a really cool subject. But I couldn't agree more. I think some people just think that, and I mean, I did it in high school too. I just start throwing heavy weight around. I was putting on weight and I felt good, and I'm a linebacker, and I was getting slower and I was getting stronger. So it's like, but what good was that? Because I couldn't go sideline to sideline, and then I've begun to define, what it is that I have to do to become just an all around better athlete. And I think how you lift determines that. Like a lot of people, like if you're gonna lift, like a lot of people bodybuild lift to get better at their respective sport, and there's no correlation with slow eccentric lifts when you're trying to build fast muscles. That's something that my trainer has preached to me. The pump might feel good, you might look a lot better, you might feel a lot stronger, but the reality is if you're training your muscles slowly, you're not building fat. You know what I'm saying? If you're not training your fast twitch muscles to react in a fast way as an athlete, you're going to get yourself in trouble, even though everything looks like it's going well. So having that plan, like pre-workout, I take pre-workout, but also what like kind of pre-workout you're taking and stuff. Like everything is defined by research. And yeah, obviously you being a runner, dealing with an ankle injury, COVID, or anything that you might have been taking. I don't know what pre-workout brand were you taking, so we can stay away from that one.
I tried a few. Like earlier on, I was using Bang, which obviously is caffeine loaded. I stopped using that, and then I can't think of the other one I was using. Uh, I did use C4, which is another one I cut out, but then I used a different one that was better than that.
Yeah.
That was what I was using over the summer, but I can't recall the name of it.
I use Rise. Rise is what I
Rise.
use. I order it online. I mean, and again, I've felt fine with it, but again, it all depends on the research that you do, and what your goals are, man. I mean, if you're just looking for the energy kick from pre-workout, you're wasting your money on pre-workout, and there's a lot of stuff that you're not even like realizing. Like take a caffeine stimulant or something like strictly like if you just want like an energy kick to do something. And by the way, like if you take energy drinks often or you drink like any type of caffeine related thing often, your body's going to become used to that stimulant. So again, you're going to get used to it. You can't use it all the time to get that energy kick. A lot of the benefits of something like a pre-workout is like the vasodilation, the beta alanine that opens up your pores, all of that stuff. There's added benefits, but those are dependent on which one you take. So it all depends on what elements that they add or what supplements that they have to provide you with an upgrade to your workout. So it all depends on like what your goals are and stuff too. So like again, it's like very specific, but that all comes down to again what your plans and goals are. Obviously, what fit in with you, because you might have had creatine in some of those too. You might not have been, and that might have been a reason as to why you felt a certain type of way too. I mean, creatine doesn't affect your breathing, but it does affect in terms of how much water weight you hold. So that's why you might have felt different. You might have been running. You might have been out of breath more running in relation to the fact that you were heavier, holding more water weight, but you didn't feel heavier in terms of what you stepped on a like scale. You know what I'm saying? Like, so there's so many things that really play into what you're taking. But the big thing is to educate yourself and to come up with a plan. Whatever supplements, whatever ways you want to approach something, you have to do research. Especially if you're going to run to the level that you do and perform at the level you do, you have to do your research and you have to put together a plan that specifically looks to improve what you want to do. I think that's what some people miss. Like it's just that they just think that putting in time and don't get me wrong, going to the gym and putting your time in and doing whatever, you're getting healthier. You're a healthier person. No one's going to knock you for that. But if you have specific goals and plans to compete at a collegiate level, research is a must, and a dedicated plan to what your goals are is a must.
Well, for sure, yeah. Like in the time, I looked great. I was shredded, and I think that was because the amount of caffeine and what I was using was taking the water off of my muscles. So I looked shredded and I looked good, but I think I got too blinded by the fact like, oh, I'm looking good. But um, also too, if you look at athletes like elite track and field, like world class athletes, like for instance maybe Michael Norman, Trayvon Bromell, and those guys like that. If you were to go up to them and to poke their chests or on their bodies, their muscles they look great, but they're mushy. They're not hard, rock hard muscles. And I think that people don't are very miseducated or uneducated on that and how just like their look or what they're putting on. I think they think that automatically equates to higher athleticism.
I mean, have you ever seen like the fat boxers or the fat UFC fighters? Like fat. Fat is what we're going to use as the term. They look like they have a gut. They look like they have a stomach. Like Tyson Fury.
Tyson Fury.
Tyson Fury. Tyson. Guess
He's
what?
built crazy.
Guess what? Tyson Fury don't look like he's in shape, but I tell you what, right now, not only is he gonna kick your ass, he'd kick your ass for 20 straight. You ain't like you. By the time you get up, he's still gonna be ready to go for round 2, 3, 4, 5. That dude is one of the most tremendously conditioned athletes in the world, and he doesn't look like it. So.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a reality that some people don't see. That's the same thing with me too, and I kind of get body conscious everywhere. I'm trying to look a certain way, but like, yeah, I'm a defensive tackle. Like, there's a certain way that unless I drop us to a certain body weight with the way that I work out, I'm not gonna have this cut up beach body and look like a bodybuilder unless I A, train like a bodybuilder, and B, decide to cut the calories and do the things the way I need to do. But I need to be at a certain weight and size, and I need to perform at it in a certain manner. And that doesn't fit along with my goals right now, and that's just reality. So
to add on to that too, track and field is one of those sports where the athletes do have a particular look to them, and that goes along with gymnastics and things of that sort. Whereas you can get somebody your size on a basketball court and is the most skilled person there, and you can shoot from anywhere on the court. You have a handle, and you can do whatever on the court. Whereas on the track, a person of a bigger stature, 9 times out of 10, isn't really going to succeed in a 400-meter dash. So like that goes into I like to say track is very physical in terms of the demand. So if you're not dedicated into uh, building your body to be the best for the event that you're trying to run, then you might as well kiss your hopes of being top of the line goodbye.
I could train like this, and I could even run some hurdles. I'm never gonna get to I'm like at this frame. I'm never gonna compete with you, no matter how fast I could run the same 40 time as you, or 5 seconds short, or I could run the same time in a straight line. My frame is not holding up over hurdles the way that your longer, leaner stature is in comparison to mine, and that's just reality for anybody. There are body types of these sports supply you to, and obviously the lighter you are, the faster you most likely are to move. So like it's again like we know it. It's hard for us to kind of explain to someone who might not totally understand it. It's not a matter. It's more than just work ethic. Part of your work ethic as an athlete has to be in the books and in the ability to study what your plan is to get better. It's not just the time you put in and the effort you put in. It's outside of that too, what you again off the field too. It's bigger than just working out itself. It's your ability to have a set plan, which I think obviously you've done, and I've seen throughout the years through Snapchat and everything like that. Obviously you're always grinding, and I like the idea of the change for you too. Moving athletes should move, and they should train to move. I think a lot of people that move, like I said, get caught into this bodybuilding lift, and they get injured, or they don't see the results they want to see because they're not training in line with what they want to do. So glad to hear that you adapted and are now pushing yourself again to those same big goals that I know that you have and that you've proven you can hit before. So the more knowledgeable and the more that your training is what you believe to be in line and specific to it, you're going to even improve on those results even more, which is awesome.
Oh, for sure, no doubt. At this time of year right now compared to last year, I'm a lot faster. So I think my when I do qualify for nationals for 400 hurdles, I think I might shock myself and some people.
Hey, I listen. He plays nationally 2 years in a row, and I'm just waiting for that gold medal. I'm just waiting for
I'm
that gold
waiting.
medal, man.
I'm telling you, man, I got so much emotion that I want to release whenever it comes.
And
I'll be so happy.
I find it so cool that it's in North Carolina for you too. It's been North Carolina the 2 times you've gone, right? Is that where it is for this year coming too?
Yeah, I think this year outdoor is gonna be in New York somewhere
Ooh,
because they do
that's a
change it. They do change it.
that's a trip I could make. That's a trip. That's a trip. That's a trip I can make.
Yeah, yeah. Last year was in Ohio, so
Oh,
yeah,
Ohio. Okay.
New York. Yeah, New York. Yeah, it changes.
It was
So
North
this year,
Carolina that first year, right? When
yeah,
it
North
would rain like
Carolina.
crazy.
Yeah, the first year was at Ncaa, and then the indoor following was at it was still North Carolina and Winston-Salem at JDL Fast Track, and then we were at Spire Academy in Ohio where LaMelo Ball played for the outdoor. So
Mellow.
this indoor is going to be in Alabama, and then outdoor is New York, if I'm not mistaken.
That might be a little weekend trip I can make. So we're gonna have to see how that goes.
Definitely got to be something. Yeah, you got to come out, man.
I'll consider it a little rundown on the road. So speaking of traveling, now that we've gotten through a lot of the season and everything, obviously we'll keep the fans updated. You'll keep me updated on how everything's going. They had the first meet, and you said this second meet you were actually at, not at the meet, but at the NCAA immersion event down in Texas, correct? Which you had a lot of fun doing.
Yeah, it was the NCAA convention, and I was actually a part of the immersion program. So it's a huge event. Well, it had about 2,000 people in attendance, and um, they have all of the athletic directors, um, compliance officers, and like higher ups from all the Division III and II athletic programs. They come down for this annual event held by the NCAA, and there's a ton of meetings going on. There's art ceremonies, and it's for me being an immersion program. It was a huge networking thing. So basically, it's for student athletes who are looking to pursue a job or a career in coaching or administration in the NCAA. So I went down there for that. So I got some knowledge about things going on in the NCAA, and then I had some networking. So I met a ton of people. I actually met the CFO of the NCAA, and it was just surprising to me how like everyone there was just like, oh, like I'm open to helping you out, networking. Like, here's my card. Call me, email me. And these are people who are very busy people. Like, they got emails. They have to plan a lot of stuff out. But um, I think it was great for me to know that the NCAA does have a ton of people who are supportive of student athletes, and they want to see us go beyond our sports careers and our athletic accomplishments. They know we're more than that, and they want to help us. So that was great for me to see.
Yeah, I mean, there's such a financial aspect to the NCAA and how much money that all the sports bring in. And I think that kind of gets lost in the fact that there are people within the organization that, while they have to focus on money, they all do care. Or at least there are some that do genuinely care about the student athletes that are there too. They want to see not only, I mean, like, because your degree is, your degree is one thing, but to be able to do something with it, especially in a manner of which it's something that you love pursuing, is fascinating to me. So I mean, like I said, you can only do stuff through experience and only learn through experience of what you've been doing. That shows in any athlete's career going through sports, how they relay it if they do become a coach. But also that event for you, like that is once in a lifetime opportunity to go network with the CFO, like the CFO of the NCAA. Just like you said, you met probably, I'm sure, other athletes as well as people in positions, which I'm fascinated by it. I'm glad you had a good time and got to experience it, because from what I saw from the event, I was like, I gotta ask him about it. And what a better way to ask him about it than bring him on the show.
And no doubt, like I have here, this is a stack of cards of
Those are all different
connections that
people.
I got.
Those are all different
All
people.
different. people, athletic directors from all over the country. I got some. They gave us this really nice portfolio and stuff like that. Um, Peyton Manning was there. He spoke.
Charlie Baker too,
Um,
right?
Charlie Baker was there because he's going to be the new president of the NCAA. Jim Nance received an award, famous announcer. Um, it was a crazy experience. Also, we were right down the street from the Spurs Golden State game, that historical game with the
The Alamo
largest
Bowl,
attendance.
yeah.
Yeah, and I did check out the Alamo, so it was great. And they also another great thing was that I got it invited because I was a part of the immersion program. All the students that were there for that automatically get an invite to Indianapolis for career and sports forum. So I'll be going to that June 4th.
So that's so like you get your foot in the door one time, and once you're in the door, man, it's endless after that. And I think that's a cool lesson
Yeah,
for people to take note of and take advantage of. Like any type of job fair or anything you go to, you might not even work for someone, or you might not even, you know what I'm saying. But just the connections, you cannot. It's not always about, and you look at like the NFL and stuff, and coaches who like when coaches get hired, they're like, well, he worked with this person as a coordinator, and his buddy's now a head coach. Like for example, like with Brian Flores or Bill O'Brien. Like Bill O'Brien's always worked with Bill Belichick, and Belichick, has brought his coordinators back and stuff. As much as somebody can know in a certain field, it's not always about what you know; it's about who you know. It's the fact that you have the ability to perform at a high level athletically, be a high character person, and meet the people that are going to put you in the right spots to succeed. I mean, that's an absolute blessing. That's such a cool experience.
and I also want to share one more thing about that trip and a story that about something that happened there. I was meeting somebody. So we have our athletic director, Lori Hendricks at UMass Dartmouth. She came in. I think this is her second year. Great athletic director. She knows everybody. Like, throughout the whole time, it was a 4-day thing. She was introducing me and one of my other peers, Jill Powell, went down for the convention, introducing us to ADs. Oh, here and then here's this person. Like, this is Cam. Like, it was great. So there was a delegates lunch that they were holding, and we're going around, we're talking to people, and like it's just great because you're in the presence of people who are successful and people who want to be successful. So it's just a very driven and like it's a very driven environment. It's hard to describe, but when you're there, like everybody, it's obviously very formal. Everybody's dressed nicely, and everybody's kind of in the same mind space and mindset and attitude. So she takes us to and introduces us to the president, who is also the athletic director of Keene State, which, if you're from the New England area,
Up north.
you know who Keene State is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Very successful
so,
school.
very successful, nice school. So I had already been introducing myself to a couple people, and I'm feeling warmed up. I'm talking, and I get to her, and I don't know, my it's like my script changed a little bit about like I'm talking. I'm just as I'm warming up, I'm just like, okay, it's better for me to be my genuine self. And for anybody out here that wants to appeal to a potential boss or something, obviously you want to be professional, but it's good to be genuine and be yourself. So back to the story, I'm speaking to her, and I remember there was a speaker who spoke to us on the very first day we got there, 7 in the morning, very engaging. Um, he was just like, think back to somebody who pushed you to be who you are now, or pushed you to be successful. And I'm bringing this up to the woman, and I thought back to Jordan Williams, my high school rival in the 400 in Massachusetts. He went to Brockton.
Yeah, we touched that in the last podcast.
Yeah, we definitely touched that. A lot of Jordan Williams talk. That's my man, though. I love him. Uh, while I'm telling her about it, mind you, I'm looking at this lady, and there's just something about her that is She has this very nurturing, very warm, welcoming, and understanding kind of like aura and presence about it. So I'm talking to her and I'm telling her, I'm like, yeah, back in high school, I had a rival, Jordan Williams, and I always got second to him. But he instilled a different work ethic in me that made me want to work harder and go in the summer and run those miles, and because I wanted to beat him. And that carried over to school and other things too. And back then it was like something that I thought like, oh man, it sucks that I can't beat this kid. Like, I don't know, I'm trying, I'm working so hard. But now I look back and I'm grateful because um, it's been hard to get to this point that I am now, especially as I'm still a very low income person and first generation. I'm also obviously African American, so it's a little harder for me to get to where I want to go. And I'm speaking to her now, and I just start choking up, telling her because it's kind of like she turned into my therapist, and I'm just telling her, and I just start choking up, and I started crying, like right in the middle of talking to her, because I'm thinking, I'm like, man, it's been like so hard for me to get here, and all because something so little as a rival who pushed me to be harder is he doesn't even know it, but he practically got me to be an All American. And I don't know, it was just thinking back to all the hard days when I was running and meals that I didn't get to have and stuff like that. It was just like, man, uh, I know that better days are coming, and I know that soon I'm gonna be out of the struggle and that I'm on the path to success. So like, I don't know, that was a very emotional point, and I think it was a powerful point in the
I'm
trip for me.
I mean, you kind of get that butterfly effect vibe where the way that he pushed you instilled that work ethic in you and then led you to how you prepared yourself for all these other events. Like I said, I think that's awesome. Not only to be around people like of those positions, but like I said, that allow you to be yourself and allowed you to be vulnerable in that way. And I think it's good for you, like people, especially athletes, to be vulnerable in that way because in that moment you started to like it clicked with you like, man, I've put my like look where I brought myself. I don't think that in any of those moments where you ever would have really considered you'll be at this NCAA event in San Antonio, suit and tie around all these people. You're like, this is where I can get to. This is where I'm pushing myself to get to. These are the goals that I want to hit, and I'm on my way to it. And I think that realization kind of hits you, which I think is absolutely awesome because you have the world in front of you to pursue with anybody. Like, again, athletics teach you a great thing about work ethic and just how to pursue things and just you were just like I think that realization hit you. Where you're like, man, look, this is the path that I'm on. This is where I'm going, and I think it's totally awesome for you to have been involved with that event and to be able to kind of have that moment of vulnerability, but also realization where it's like, look how far I've come and look at where I'm going.
Exactly. Most definitely, man. You said it better than I could have. Man, it was just like it almost opened me up too, and it made me want to work even harder, kicking in the overdrive. Like, okay, track, school, I'm locked in with that. Now let's work on my professional portfolio. Let's try to start getting these internships. And yeah, man, it's just like I want to have that story of like starting from the bottom and now look where he is now. So I don't know. It was a special moment, and Lori had pulled me aside because I couldn't even keep speaking to the lady. I had to like go to the side, and then my AD Lori was just like, that what just happened there was like that was great. Like that woman probably wants to connect with you, and she wants somebody like you in her office working for her, something like that. And I was just like, I don't know, man. It was a crazy moment. It
Powerful, man.
was
It's
it was
powerful
powerful.
to for me to sit here and hear it. I'm sure it's powerful for people to experience there, and I'm sure if anybody at the NCAA that hosted that event was able to hear that story or was able to hear that story, that is the poster story and image of what they want for those. I'm sure for what they want those events to be. The ability to not only recognize you guys as the athletes and the high character individuals you are, or that anybody in the NCAA is, and what they provide, but also that they've made it so far, and there's still so much that they can accomplish. And like the realization for you was, man, I can internships, and like the sky is really the limit. And like, again, to have that powerful experience, and for it to, again, someone like yourself who works so hard to, again, open up your eyes even more to other possibilities that are just big, just huge opportunities for you to go chase after. That's powerful. Like, it was powerful for me to sit here and listen to. I said, I'm so happy for you to be able to have experienced that. And again, let anybody else that's listening take note of it too. The sky is the limit of what you can pursue in terms of your work ethic and stuff, and not only just your athletic endeavors, but anything that you're pursuing after that. Go out there, make those connections, and don't be afraid to be yourself. Even around, you're obviously in a different environment. You've traveled. It's all, wherever it was in terms of the setting, and the second that you really began to open up might have been the most powerful impact that you had, the entire weekend, which is really, really cool. Again, there's so many lessons to learn within this story itself.
Oh, definitely. And that wasn't even the only moment that was just like where there was emotion tied into it. Um, there was another point where we were at this issues forum where there's this whole ballroom filled with tables, and there's different people sitting at the tables, and there's 8 people at a table, and there's a speaker, and he goes over that are in the NCAA, and there's a table of people who will discuss the issues with everybody at the table, and then there's a person who's typing, putting their resolution, or if this is an issue or something of that sort. And I was sitting beside uh, a higher up member. I don't want to say his name, but of the GNAC conference, and you can just tell that he's an individual who only wants to see student athletes or students or people of the younger generation succeed. So I'm sitting beside him, I'm talking to him, he's keeping all of us engaged the whole time. And I get his email, I get his contact information and stuff like that. And after the issue forum thing is over, like two more of my immersion program friends come over, and then we're all connecting, and he's just like, "Oh, I know this person. You want to go into sports medicine, or I know this person," and he'll text him immediately. So we go up on the stage afterwards, and he wants to take a photo with all of us. So we take photos with him, and before he had before we had all left out, um, he told us, he was like, before you guys go, before I go, pull out your cell phones and look this person up. And he tells us the name, and we look it up, and up comes an obituary, and it was a young man, and he said, read about the fifth paragraph down. And we're reading the obituary and stuff like that. It was like four of us, and he just left us with, he was like, um, that was my son who passed away, and he just got choked up, and you can tell he was getting emotional, and he just gave us a peace sign, and he walked away. And me and the other three at immersion program guys just like looked at each other, and we're just like, wow, like this is something else. Like, this is much more than just an NCAA convention. This is much more than that. So that experience is something that I will always remember being there. So I'm so grateful that I got selected, and I was one of the few to get selected to go. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's incredible. I mean, like I said, to make those connections, not just your typical like connections where it's like, oh, I'm friends with this person on LinkedIn. Like, to have that genuine interaction, and to have those stories from his son, to the interaction you had with the AD from Keene State, and the people that you met along the way. It just seemed like a genuine good, like I said, you felt the energy, and that's just a positive energy that not only motivated you but allowed you to be yourself in a totally different environment. So it's a different environment, and you even opened up from within yourself more to people that you didn't even know before. So that's the power of what that event is. That's incredible. Like you can't for that to be able to sit in your memory like that. It doesn't surprise me at all, and I'm like, super excited for you and super glad that you were able to go to it. And I hope the next event that you said to go to in June, right? I hope you have the same amount of success there, and hopefully it hits just the same way because it just seems amazing. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't script that. You're not gonna get that anywhere else except for where that was, which is incredible.
No, yeah, you can't script that at all. And like I said, I'm always gonna hold that with me. And yeah, I had written that man an email because obviously I wanted to connect with him further, but I also thanked him for sharing that with me, and it's powerful. And that's somebody who I know will always think of me and do make his decisions in my best interest at heart because at the end of the day, he's a person who wants to see people win. So yeah, it was an amazing trip, man. That's all I can say, bro. That's all I can say about it.
I appreciate you telling me those stories because obviously, like, for some of those stories, if you had held those to like your own, like if you just kept those to yourself, I wouldn't even like. Not only would I not like, nobody would have ever known. Like, I never like, if you kept those to yourself just because they like were so like the meaning behind them as like powerful as they were, no one could blame you for that. Like, those are yours. Those are your experiences, and even if you hadn't shared those, it would have just been like you always have that, and they can mean that much to you. So I appreciate you sharing them on the show, and I'm sure people will find a ton of interest in them because again, powerful, powerful stuff.
Yeah, no doubt. I don't mind sharing. Um, I feel like if my story, me sharing my story can help somebody else, why would I not? I feel like that's selfish. Um, Lori was there the moment that I was speaking to the Keene State president and AD, and she shared what had happened with my coach, and my track coach had what to tell the team about that. And while telling the team, um, he got emotional because he's seen my growth and things of that sort. And then I had to call my roommate Andrew Swallow, and I'm telling him about it. And I start crying again when I was telling him about it. So yeah, it made him get emotional. So like it was just it's much more. The athletics is much more than numbers, championships. It's much more. As a person who's got some accolades, I am, and my story is much more than what I do out on the track and field. And as to all the athletes out there, the same applies to you.
Yeah, it's all like I said. I've always been a big proponent of it's bigger than the game, and I've gotten caught up in it. I've gotten caught up in it where I got injured this season. I only played 4 games, and I had put in a ton of time in the gym and training, and it got to me, man. It got to me. It ate at me because I just feel like I was letting everybody down. And then I talked to my dad. I've talked to my trainer. I've talked to a couple of my friends on the team, and they're like, dude, you're out, like you know how much you've accomplished in the amount of time that you've been here and how people look at you, the respect that they have for you. So it's all like just that support there. You can't like that athletics provides with the people that you surround yourself with and what it teaches you about so much more than just a game is incredible. So again, we're not speaking to anything that you and me don't understand, but for anybody who ever looks down upon athletics or doesn't really appreciate how much we put into it or how much it means to us, it's it's because of events like this that you went to and experiences that you had like that people don't even know that exist even within the athletic community itself, that when they have that much more of appreciation for it, and they'll never be able to take that away from you. So again, powerful stuff, really incredible. I couldn't agree with you more that it's so much deeper than just the athletics itself and the awards that you get. It's the relationships you build with people, and it's the lessons you learn that will propel you through life.
Oh, no doubt, man, no doubt.
All right. So again, thank you for sharing those stories. I got 2 questions on the text line for you.
Okay.
So
Two on the text line.
two on the
Hey,
two on the text
I
line.
got
So,
two friends. Two friends. I love y'all. Wow. Hey.
um, so this is the first time that I've actually, I think I brought a guest on and actually had questions for them. So you, again, being the first guest last year, now being the first guest on for this season, and also having questions for you, I think is unique for people to ask. Again, after all those stories and stuff too, maybe a little bit more. Again, as I start to do live shows and stuff too, that'd have been really cool. Like, that segment itself would have been so cool, the live show, because I might have even, there's questions that I might not even have thought of while I'm listening. People also might have thought of other questions to ask you, but it's something I'm working towards. But
Dude,
anyways,
I'm down. I'm down. Just give me a time. Give me a day. I'm down.
I'm keep making you the first. So we actually,
I think we should keep this. I think we should keep this going even after my career.
for
I got a
sure,
lot more stories to tell.
for sure. So again, like, I'm looking to bring on Jordan Reddy too, another UMass Dartmouth, the athlete too.
Ready.
So trying to get her on to as the first female guest. I've never had a female guest before, so we're trying to do a lot of
Also,
first here.
I have a question. Would you do like a multiple person podcast?
Absolutely,
You
absolutely.
working? Hey, hit my line. Hit my line.
So we'll definitely get some stuff
Hey,
together. But without further ado, we'll get to the question. Without further ado,
for sure.
for my boy Cam, who pushed you the hardest in your life to succeed? But I guess kind of
Oh, yeah. Well,
segues
I
from
already
one of
covered
those.
that one.
Yeah, so we kind of already covered it. And I was like, as I was, I'd already read the text. You hadn't known the question was there. As you were going through it with the story, guess we kind of
Yeah.
know. But just to, yeah,
So yeah, Jordan Williams pushed me, but obviously there's way more than that. There's way more people in my life who saw my potential and um kept giving me words of encouragement and kept pushing me through even when I thought I was just like, all right, maybe this isn't gonna work out. Most definitely my high school coaches, Coach Sleep and Coach Lamar. Um, those guys, even Coach Powers, those guys they saw something in me that I didn't see at the time. And I was on the track team goofing around, and I knew I could have been good, but I didn't know that I was gonna get to the level I am now. So at practice, they would almost kind of keep me off from all the other distractions that the kids were on the team. They were getting into trouble, like playing around and stuff like that. But they kept me away. They're like, okay, you got to do your hurdle drills, and I was the only hurdler, so I was isolated, definitely isolated, and they kept me on track. My cousin, all three of my cousins, who I used to live with in North Carolina, Jamal, James, and Candace, were people that I idolized and looked up to growing up because they taught me that where I'm from does not and cannot define me, and they also showed me that um I can thrive in any environment that I want, and people will appreciate me for being myself. So I love all those people so much, and I will always hold them dearly to my heart because of what they taught me and what uh and how they pushed me.
and I think there's a connection between what you experienced at that event and what you just like literally described. Like the traits that you picked up from these people were all described within the events and the realizations that you had while you were at that NCAA event. So I find that not coincidental at all. Like that
Oh,
is
not at all.
there's a direct
Not at all.
correlation between that. And I find that so cool that those people have had that lasting impact on you, and the realization hit you all at once, and you were just able to appreciate it all in that one go, and realize like where you've come from and where you stand and where you're going. Again, really cool.
Yeah, I had actually called my cousin Jamal and told him about everything when I was down in San Antonio. I called him and I thanked him and I told him, and he was like, "Oh, I'm so proud of you," and that's all. That's great. That's great to hear. Like that's all anybody ever wants to hear is that somebody's proud of them. So yeah, those people like my cousin James, I never thought about track. He was the one who ran track in the family, and I saw how hard he worked. He would run hills, like weighted hills with like the tire and a rope running hills, and he trained. He was doing core late at night, and I can hear him doing. I was younger. I was probably like in maybe sixth, fifth grade, and I'm seeing him do this, and I'm seeing him compete, and I'm seeing him at track meets, and he's the one who got me to do track. And my cousin Jamal, he's the one who showed me that there's a other side of things. He's a football player. And my cousin Candace, she was always the cousin that had my back and stuff like that. So I love them, and my aunts and uncles, my family, friends from all over. They've all taught me something. So I've learned some stuff from you too, cause you're my friend too. I appreciate you. So
I appreciate that,
love
Kim.
for you. Only love for you, bro.
Hey, all the same here. You know how I always want to support the people that I have around me in my life, and you're the same way. So it's just reciprocated. We're not giving anything out that we know we're not getting back in return. We know who we surround ourselves with, and that we're in very good areas of reciprocated energy with who we surround ourselves with. So all the love to you. I know I'm getting back from you. So appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, no doubt.
Last question. Do you know what Sam Hennedy?
Sam Hennedy.
Hennedy.
Is that a track athlete?
I think so, because the question is, so you think Sam Hennedy is going to clap you this year?
Sam Hennedy.
Sam Hennedy.
How do you spell Hennedy?
It's Hennedy. I'm trying to do it here. I didn't know. I was going to wait to get your raw reaction. I was going to kind of pre-warn you, but at the same time, I was like, I'd rather get the I'd rather get like the raw reaction of you. But then I was like, I don't even know who the hell.
I'm gonna be real, man. I don't know what Sam. It's bad because I'm not games
track and field at Keene State is what popped up for me.
Oh, let me see.
He's a junior.
Keene State. Let me look at the roster. Actually, did he send that question?
I don't know him, so I don't. Do you have him on Snapchat? I mean, I don't know. Apparently, my podcast is getting around, so I guess this is a positive.
Hey, that's dope that your podcast is getting that way at the Keene State, man. Hey, Keene State, man. You guys are... I've
got a connection. Got a connection right now, man. So...
Keene State, you guys been showing mad love, man. But, Hennedy, I ain't gonna lie, bro. I'm gonna have to smoke you up, bro. I ain't gonna lie. Nah, bro, honestly... I always like to joke around, and like I love being competitive. Like Kennedy, I'm not gonna come out on here and be like, nah, man. I'm gonna run my best race against you. So you better run your best race, man. Let's make it fun.
Hey, fair enough.
If you're running with me and you're staying with me, somebody's getting that at least C conference record, and I want it. So come get it. Hey.
I'm so fascinated by that. I figured like you knew the kid that asked that question.
I honestly probably race him for at conferences and stuff.
Yeah.
But honestly, most of the people, like, we're all supportive. Like the track and field community is always also so very supportive. But sometimes you don't even know the person's name who you're like, yo, good race, man. Like that was great. You talk to him. So
I hope he sees this. I hope he sees this. I hope he sees this, and that's a topic for discussion at one of the events that you guys run against each other. I'm fascinated by that. That was cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep looking for him on the roster, see if I recognize him.
Because I saw it come up on it says track and field junior Keene State statistics, and then he's on LinkedIn as well. There's pictures of Keene State on here. Yep, outdoor track 2022. He's a sophomore from Douglas, Matt. I'm not just gonna start. Here we go. Middle distance. Here we go. All right, so. He ran 400, 600, 400 hurdles. He ran a 56.94 and 400 hurdles.
Ooh. Sam, I ain't gonna lie, man. You're gonna have to drop them seconds. You're gonna drop a couple seconds, man.
That's his best. That's what it's saying on the website.
Yeah, I don't know what you did for training, though. Anything can happen. And it's hurdles, too. Anything can happen. So good luck to you this year. Stay healthy. Stay happy. And I will see you at conference. Hey.
And thank you for tuning in. If you make it this far into the episode for it, appreciate you tuning in. We're about to hit the hour right in the nose. This is amazing. This is great work by both of us. Credit to me as a producer and a host. Credit to you as a guest.
This isn't our
This is the second time. This was immaculate. We got guys tuning in from different schools just to see you. Text it into the text line. This is everything I wanted. Cam, thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you for sharing the stories that you did. I had a blast with it. I really did.
Yeah, man, I liked how it went. I'm happy I got to share stories with you, and it's always great. Like there isn't a dull moment on here. Like it's fluid. It's fluid. Like
That's the goal, man. I want it to be a conversation that people can watch. That's the goal.
for sure,
The goal is for it
for
to be
sure.
a conversation, an interesting conversation that people want to be a part of and they listen to. And I think that's something that we totally accomplished in this episode. I love having guests on because it's nice to break it up. I'm not gonna lie, it's hard to do a solo show. I'm having a conversation with myself. Having a guest like you that brings so much to the table is such a blessing for me. So thank you for joining me once again.
Yo, no doubt. Thanks for having me on again. It's been great.
And again, as your season goes on, I'll be sharing the results out with the people as well. I'm always sharing out your stuff on both my pages, my personal and that. So people will be able to keep up with you. And like I said, hopefully they took something out of the stories you had today. Again, really powerful stuff.
Yeah, stay tuned for keep in touch with UMass Dartmouth Track and Field. We're gonna try to go for another conference run, and the boys will try to bring back a ring. That's what we need. So
More jewelry.
Keep in touch with it. Keep in touch with it. I'll be working my butt off, and I'll be trying to produce. So.
Cam, thank you. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Catch you next time.
This could be us.
Thank you.
So back to what I was saying. Could be us.